I'm Maestro Ramon Martinez. I'm a Master of Arms, and I'm from New York City.
I'm Maestro of Jeannette Acosta-Martinez. I'm a Master of Arms, and I'm also from New York City.
I'm teaching cane self-defense and fencing concepts and theory applied to various weapons. I'm also teaching
Dueling sword?
Oh yeah, French dueling sword. Any real martial artist knows that his true adversary is himself. Is to better yourself as a better person. You know, not only do you get the physical benefits, but you get the internal benefits as well, if you study and train correctly.
Yeah, I think for me the most important thing is that you're committed to doing something and that you stick with it, that you train, you try to improve, and you try to improve yourself on all levels. So whether it's, getting fit, whether it's excelling at that particular art, whichever weapons form you've chosen, or whether it's evolving into finding some other weapon that maybe suits you better. But going through that journey, I think, is the most important part. I would say it's a good opportunity to be introduced on various levels to different aspects of it. So the idea that there is people that are in the film industry and stage industry, that in itself is interesting, because sometimes as martial artists we sort of look down on that when we don't really understand the reality of what they have to deal with, which is very different from what we do, because they're given actors that may not necessarily be trained, and they have to deal with that. So that was interesting for us, learning sort of that area. But at least for me, that's been interesting how they create the illusion. So I think that's an interesting aspect of maybe someone's interest in that respect. Otherwise, if they're really interested in the martial aspect of it, I think it's a good way to be introduced into such a variety of teachers, but also a variety of weapons forms and possibly things they've never even considered or may not even know exist.
I look at this, I don't fight. I'm a fencer. I'm a swordsman. Can, but I won't. The biggest fight I always say is against myself. I fight my it's like Jekyll and Hyde. I fight Mr. Hyde every day. And that's for my own personal gain, yes. But I think it benefits other people as well, see, because you really can't really understand yourself unless you put yourself in a pressure situation to see how you're going to react. Will you react in the correct way? Will you react in a vulgar way? Will you react in a barbarous way? And you won't know until you're there. So this is one of the most important things about CombatCon. And to get back to what we were saying before, why I would urge someone to come. My mom used to say, you don't know what the soup tastes like until you put your spoon and taste it. So you come here, taste it, see what it's like. Either you like it or you won't. It's up to you.
Yeah. We think of ourselves as fencers. We don't consider ourselves fighters, because for us, they have two different meanings. So a fencer is someone that is trained in the art and science of defense. A fighter can be anyone. And for example, someone that does combatives, I would consider a fighter, absolutely. But I don't consider myself a fighter, because for me it's all about the defense. It's about learning this art. It's about being able to teach this art to other people, and it's an art that you can't actually use on the street, because no one wears swords anymore. So that's why we don't like that term. I understand that people use that term, but it's just not something that resonates with us.
Violence, yes. It's part of human nature. It's part of human history. Violence has always been around since Cain picked up that stick and killed Abel, so there's nothing new. I think it's important to know that, because that's part of telling a story. Playwrights, novelists, movie directors and stuff like that, they need that to tell that, because violence for just violence sake within a narrative, it's useless. It doesn't mean anything. It has to be part of the story.
I like the use of swords in a narrative, because it adds another level of interest in for me, but also because with the sword there is so many other possibilities. So for example, in a general fight, an armed fight, there's always you're trying to knock the other person out, or you're trying to get away of some sort. But with the sword, you have so many other possible levels. You have the capacity to put in the context of some kind of street violence where these random people are all of a sudden they're pulling out swords and they're fighting for whatever reason. But you also have the possibility of putting it into the context of a duel, and you also have the possibility of putting it into context of an ambush, all kinds of things. So I think it's a very interesting weapon to use in a narrative.
If there's one thing that I think that people should learn from involved in all these combaters in martial arts and stage combat and that sort of thing, I said, and this is the important thing: you don't ever want to do this for real. You should be able to, but you should never desire that. Never glamorize violence. Never.
Yeah, I think for me the important thing, like I said before, I think people should do this for the journey, for what you learn about yourself throughout this, because I think I agree with my husband that I see this recent sort of trend towards glorifying the violence of it, rather than understanding that you're in it to practice and to improve yourself first, because you can't control someone else in that kind of situation if you can't even control yourself.
Woo!